But some people say, well, that's not a good God that would reject some people just because, they weren't perfect. That he wouldn't let them into heaven. And so they say, I believe in a God that just opens his arms, and he's just a God of love, which is true, he is love. And he just, regardless of their faith, regardless of their life, regardless of anything, he just lets everybody come in. I say, well, it's interesting that I think that we've imagined some sort of rule, some sort of aspects of God's attitude towards us that is not in the Bible. And we've put upon him certain standards that we'd like him to have that we're not willing to put on ourselves, and I'll explain to you why. Imagine the next time you get on a plane. I'm a missionary, we fly a lot, right? So get on a plane. There's an amount of trust that you have to have on an airplane. Why? You kind of want the guy who's behind the stick to know what he's doing. So you get on an airplane, and the flight attendant comes on, and she says, well, dear passengers, welcome to Anything Goes Airlines, and we're glad to have you here, and we're getting ready to take off here very shortly, but our pilot, he suddenly got sick this morning. Sorry, he couldn't make it, so we're just going to put all your names in a hat, and we're going to pull out a name, and whoever we pull out, they get the privilege of flying the plane today. You'd walk off the plane, would you not? Say, wait a minute, no, I'm not flying with anyone, even if it was me, because I can't do that. And I'm pretty sure, there may be some pilots here, but I would not fly on that plane. Well, that's my own standard. And here are people saying, I want God to accept anyone of any faith, of any religion, for any reason, and yet simple truth is they would not do the same themselves. Or let's put it in another way. Let's say you go to a restaurant. You order a nice bowl of soup. We like borscht. It's red. It's kind of like, the soup of that Esau ate. And, wonderful stuff. We put a little sour cream in it. But you go to a restaurant. Let's say you went to a Ukrainian restaurant. You ordered borscht, right? And they bring it to you, and there's a dead mouse floating in your soup. You say, I'm not going to accept this. I have standards. I might get sick. That's nasty. That's not clean. That's not pure. I expect things to be clean back there in that kitchen. Honestly, sometimes I don't want to look in the kitchen when I go to different restaurants, but I expect things to be clean. I have standards. And I would suspect that you would not only send that bowl back, but you would probably leave the restaurant and never go there again. Why? Because you have standards of purity and doing things right and cleanliness. And so how can it be that then people say, well, they have those standards, but if I turn to God, I want him to be sort of this spineless jellyfish that is just sort of, all things to all people everywhere at all times. I'm sorry, I don't want a God like that. I don't want a God that's going to serve me soup with a dead mouse in it. I want a God that's going to serve me something healthy and holy and righteous and good for me.